Hi, and welcome everyone. This is Varleigh at Lavender Panther with you on Tuesday, June 23rd. Emphasis on the 23 and the 23rd. You'll see why coming up in the show. And we're live tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, where I'm at. And I hope this finds you enjoying a beautiful night, day, whatever it, or basically just a beautiful right now. This is a bonus show. I put in the description area. Yes, this is a bonus show, kind of a surprise show, even for me, because as I was hearing things going on kind of in the social media world and, latest news and updates. And if any of you are watching the World Cup soccer, I'm dabbling in and out, looking in there. Spoiler alert for anybody that really loves and is into the soccer. I will watch occasionally some of the games, just keep the pulse on what's going on over there. But personal opinion, I think the overall thing is kind of rigged. But anyway, just certain things, certain calls, you can just see that maybe certain people are paid off, but that's just my personal opinion. But what that is doing is bringing this up of why I'm even doing this show is because we're going to be talking about Miami. It's going to be Miami intensive in the fact, boy, I'm having a hard time like just talking right now. It'll gear in, it'll click into gear in a minute. So give me a little warm up pass on this. We're going to be talking about Miami, a lot of things happening in and over Miami. And especially because for whatever reason, the whole 2024, January 1st, Bayside Miami Mall, they call it the Miami Mall alien incident, that kept coming up on the radar. And then there's a movie called Tomorrow War that is set in Miami. It's where there's, big humans versus ETs, essentially some really kind of not the little friendly ETs, but some pretty wild looking savage, vicious ETs species set in Miami. And they open up in the beginning of the movie, they show a soccer game, a World Cup happening in I keep saying, I said it wrong in my previous live, in 2022 in Qatar. And there's some heavy numerology, symbology in some of those scenes. So I'm going to be talking about that later on. Also, it's going around the rumor mill on the internet about a Brazilian psychic forecasting, hey, she's saying, don't go to the World Cup tomorrow in Miami because it's going to be featuring Brazil versus Scotland. And apparently she's had some dreams and they were pretty, really like not good. But anyway, I'm going to also walk us through that. So it's kind of the reason why I want to do this is to allay any fears. If anybody's watching that stuff, there's no fear surrounding any of this. Not the Bayside alien incident was interesting. We'll talk about my perception of what went on there because I'm native to Miami, born in Miami. Also have worked extensively downtown and have driven all over the map here. And so I know the city well. And I happen to have had an extra connection, loose association with the police station downtown. And so, and I used to on the daily, walk right in front of Bayside Mall and all of this. So anyway, I just want to give a little bit of my insights to that. And also, then talk about what could be coming up for this soccer match tomorrow. And, relative to what one Brazilian psychic is looking at. I'm going to make some interesting connections too of that, kind of forecast on her part with some interesting numerology and other things that get a little interesting of how this all might interconnect. Also, as a little side note, since we'll be looking at the map of Miami and where things are located, I'm actually going to be showing you maps. So you have an idea of, if you don't know Miami too well, this is where Bayside is. This is where the soccer match stadium is. I'm even going to throw in there, where the police station is relative to that Bayside event. And also, I'll throw in another thing. There's also something called the Miami Circle, a sacred site by the Tequesta Indians, and where that's located in the whole mix. And there are also some powerful gathering events happening all along this corridor. And there's bridges that are looking like portals, and there's an actual port of Miami, all in this area of Miami. So I think there's a lot going on, and I didn't plan on really looking at this per se, but as these shows go, interesting topics come up for a reason. And in fact, a lot of information was dumping in, even like a half hour before me coming on, that I didn't think I was going to include, but it came pouring in, so I have to look at it. And then, so some of that might also come out through the show. So let's start off as always. Let me just mark the show with the cover page. And this is just called Meet Me in Miami, question mark. Little, wordplay on the meet part with the ET in there. So meet me in Miami, a question mark. Is it a good idea to come for the soccer game? And, what's going on with some of the weird stuff with the Miami Mall and whatnot. So let's get into it. And what I want to do is overall emphasize this is a no fear here channel. So as you know, if you've watched any of my content, especially in the first 200 or so shows, you will see I am showing cloak and craft all day, every day, all night, every night. And I have tons of examples. So at least in my world, and what I try to share is there's no fear here because cloak and craft are there every day, every night, wherever we are. And there's nothing to be alarmed about. And at the end of the day, quite literally, always go by your inner heart space, your gut level on anything you're experiencing. So if you see something and you're like, well, it's neutral, I could care less, or you get a euphoria, you get this childlike wonder, then you know it's okay. If you see something and you're like, ooh, I'm getting a negative vibe off of that thing, well, then get out of the vicinity of that thing, out of the vicinity of that thing, right? So a big focus on this show is your inner truth detector with everything always. Some of the opinions I'm going to express on this show are my intuitive hits on it that I'm sharing from my personal experience. They're not a commentary or knocking anybody down or putting them up. It's just, here's what I see about it. And as always, I say in this channel, whether you're looking in the sky or looking at anything I present, well, what do you see? What do you feel? What do I share? What does that bring out in you, if anything? And a lot of the stuff I just pour out is food for thought, or hey, take this, and if something inspires you with it, go ahead and go down your own, like I say, badger holes, pull your own threads on it, see where it leads you, or not, right? Okay, so on the, let's first get this out of the way, and then I can move into another thing. First thing off, I wanted to say, I found these glasses, they came up to my recent too, just right before I came on the show. And if you remember, right before the whole COVID started, there was a little meme, and there's a cute little girl sitting on a curb or a sidewalk, and she had these heart-shaped glasses on. And the meme was so cute because it was like, can't see the haters with my love glasses on. And so that's just a reminder that no matter what is said or put on the internet or rumor milled around, and if somebody says or projects anything to you, this is what I do. I'm like, so, anything bad intent is just going to backfire on the sender. Or I say, hey, God, take it. Do with it what you will, but I'm not going to take it personally, okay? So anyway, I just thought that was cute. And since we're talking the Miami theme, we're going to be heading into Miami Vice a little bit too. That does factor in. It just seemed to fit. All right, so let me just show you a few review slides of what I've posted recently, just for anyone who might be new. And I'm going to go through them quickly, and then we'll get into the really heart of the show about Miami. So first off, I just want to say what I was just saying about seeing craft in the sky, cloak and craft in the sky. I saw this literally 3 days ago. Okay, we're going to be looking at these two images. Okay, so as you can see in this middle one, I'm just going to point once because it's hard to point and talk. In that image, I'm just driving along the street looking to the west, and I'm parked at a temporarily, parked at a red light. And this shape, maybe I'll try to reach it, is too curved and too perfect. And I saw it further away. So this is a zoom in. And if you look at my post section, I already put this there. So I already am detecting, my God, how much more obvious does it have to be? I mean, yeah, it's cloaked, but that's a sharp edged line. That is not just any of these like clouds moving along. That's engineered. Okay. And so I put a little bit of enhancement, which just means, sorry, I'm trying to get this better into your view. There you can see that. Yeah. Enhancement just means I've upped or lowered the color, saturation, the brightness, the contrast, or whatever within the photo. And then a little more starts to come out. So in this case, I think still that probably more original is better to see that overall curve and dome on this thing. But over here, when it's a little more blown out on the contrast, you see stuff hanging from the bottom, and then you start to see other things, and you start to see that that's a solid object. So my point is that when we're going to be talking about Miami Mall aliens or potential, like this one psychic is talking about seeing a mothership or something happening at the Hard Rock Miami Stadium coming up tomorrow. It's not out of the realm of, okay, so we know craft are up there by now. There's no waiting for government official quote unquote disclosure. People like me, people like you, I'm sure, are either seeing these things out in public or starting to have dreams that you can't explain, or recurring dreams, or you're starting to have dreams that you haven't thought about your whole life, but you're like, oh, wait a minute, I think I had an ET experience when I was little. Some of these things might start coming and bubbling up to the surface, and not because of the power of suggestion of like the latest, famous director movie coming out about ET and disclosure, but it's just something deep in our DNA and our memory that we kind of know there's been more to this world all along. And now we are in an era of revelations. I don't want to take it too biblical, but it actually is true. It is the time of revealing things, and that's happening now left, right, and center. And so in this case, just another modern day example of me seeing craft 3 days ago, like 6:30, driving along. There it is, bam, in my face. So what do I do when I see that? I'm in awe. I'm just like, wow, look at that thing. How did they do that? How did they cloak? It's fascinating. If I wasn't going along the street and going, oh my God, we're all going to die, it's a craft. No, it was just like, wow, this is really cool. So when people think of, if there's a mass disclosure, people are going to freak out. I'm here to say, no, you're not. You're going to see one and you're going to be like, wait, what? And then you might see another one a few days later and be like, what? And then you might come upon my video or something and go, oh, okay. This is just like a daily occurrence, like another day off to the office. You see this stuff on the way, whatever. Nothing to fear, okay? Like I've said, in over 6 years of doing this now, intently looking, and I got activated to see these things and call them out in photos back in 2018. I didn't look for this stuff any other, time. It was funny. It was 2018. I look at the clock, it's 8:18, and we're going to be talking about numerology and the, significance of some of those symbolisms in movies and other things coming up right now. But anyway, this is just to remind there's nothing to fear. No fear here. Also, I'm going to talk about these 3 examples again of my own eyewitnessing of these things over the skies of Miami. And then I'm going to get into other mass sightings, like a lot of people seeing cloaking craft or craft that aren't cloaked, or lights in the sky, just to remind that this is nothing new, that we might start seeing these things, because some people already have started. So this is just a quick review. Actually, I'm going to switch to full size. I don't want to make you squint. Give me a moment. So quick review on some of the things I've seen myself. This is an example, everyday activity, where it says vase-shaped craft. I was in the backyard cutting grass, a mundane activity, but you look up and you get wowed by the mystical and what else might exist. So this is the one where I was looking up. It was glaring, but I felt something strong there. Took a picture. That's, I didn't see it like that because my eyes, it was sweating. It was so glaring, but I knew something was happening. Took the picture. I went inside and then I saw this. And I'm like, oh my God, it's a vase. 2 handles on the sides. My show, or earlier live show called Amphora, with Amphora in the title, Sky Amphorae, goes into detail on this one. But here we go, zoomed in with a little bit of enhancement on the photo, just tweaking the brightness, color, saturation, and contrast. Boom, this pops out. You even see the energetic waves on this thing, the rippling on it. And later on, it was like moved on angle and clouds went over it. So it was a moving object. So my point is, cutting the grass, there it is. I felt something, but I wasn't like, oh my God, I better stop the mower, run inside. It was just like, wow, something's there. Let's see what it is later, So again, the more we have a spirit of wonder at some of this stuff, which I think most of us inherently will have, it's not going to be massive panic or any of that nonsense. So that was one example over Miami. Here's another one. This is at nighttime. And I'll put the links, in the description here below, or look at some of my previous lives or my playlist on craft above. But anyway, this was an electrical storm happening. I'll just say it wasn't behaving like a natural thunderstorm, lightning storm. And the backlighting of this revealed a freaking craft. No way around it, right? But again, I wasn't like, oh my God, I better run inside. It was like, wow, what's going on? Because remember, we are curious beings. And I think as long as we don't get a gut punch, like, oh God, I got to run to safety, you just kind of pause a minute and kind of like wonder about it. If not with euphoria, certainly at least with like, I haven't seen that before, So again, no mass panic. Now, there have been mass sightings. Oh, sorry, one more. Jumping ahead. Here's another one over Miami, and it's important because the next part of the show is all about specific Miami and ET and alien things. So again, this was one from my previous show. I showed you I'm on a boat. This thing was freaking close and very close to the water and close to me. And I was just laughing, there's another craft above it somehow, cloaked. This thing though was so pure and true. No, look how close it is to the water. No noise whatsoever. It looks like a, famous, iconic cannon on a pirate ship, like it would shoot stuff out this way. Straight edge, too massive to be anything that we would say, oh, drone, balloon. No, impossible. It's a freaking cloaking craft. And not only by how you just see it, but how it exits the scene. So it doesn't just fly off, it starts to disintegrate. And so it dematerializes and goes into a different phases, into another dimension or frequency that we can't see. And that's how it just slowly, it lets you see it. And then slowly it just kind of deteriorates and forms into other shapes of things. And then it's gone. So anyway, cloaking craft over Biscayne Bay. And again, I'm going to be showing you a map of the Miami area, showing Bayside, showing the Hard Rock Stadium where the World Cup is going to be tomorrow against Brazil, etc. Okay. Now let's get into the mass sightings. I'm just going to touch on this very quickly. Again, these are drop and go little tidbits for you to maybe pull that thread, go down that badger hole and follow along later for more information. But here we go. We have, I might not do this sequentially. I'll jump around. So here we go. Is a mass sighting of a lot of UFOs, multiple UFO craft. Very famous one over Washington, D.C. in 1952. So it was like flying saucers over Washington, D.C. were the headlines. Then over here, I wasn't in the country, so I kind of even missed this whole thing going down. But this is the Phoenix lights of 1997. And a lot of people reporting all of these lights, like in I think they said like a bat wing or like a boomerang or a V shape, slowly flying over Phoenix, Arizona. And a ton of people were eyewitness to that. Now, we also have more O'Hare Airport. You're not going to see much. I couldn't find the footage. A lot of it got scrubbed from the internet. But that little blip next to that light there is the craft. But what I was looking at is above that little blip. Let's see, right there. There's weird cloud activity when I was looking at it now. And so I zoomed in on that. And yeah, that's a smooth, roundish bottom. That's a whole cloaking craft there. There's a triangle shaped cloaking in front of it. And there's much, much more. There's like a pipe end coming out above even the thing that you would look at down here. But in that Chicago O'Hare Airport sighting, there was I guess a lot of cloud. And the thing that was notable about that is other people got really good pictures of it. And I'm just going by memory because I remember seeing the footage. I remember seeing the photos. I just couldn't find them on internet now. But there was like what they call a punch out, like a hole puncher, a void of where something just dropped down through it and just cut it like a cookie cutter, really crisp. So a lot of people were looking at that. And then that craft apparently hung around for long enough for a lot of people to see it, especially out of the windows of the airport terminal. And there's a video. I was trying to get that clip and I can't find it now on the internet. But there was even a newsroom in Chicago where they caught the newscaster, the news anchor, talking off the cuff when he didn't think he was being filmed. And he was like marveling, like, yeah, I mean, this is like, UFO craft. So very interesting stuff. So all of that was just to illustrate there are cloaking craft. There's nothing to be alarmed about because we're going to, hit these topics about the Miami Alien Mall incident and the upcoming Brazil versus Scotland game. But before we do that, I want to come down memory lane and show you. Oh, hey, SKR, welcome. SKR says, welcome. Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone. So in my little thing right now, I just said, hey, let's all put on some sunglasses and cue up the 80s intro music for Miami Vice. I was walking through and I'm like, well, I can't show you maps of Miami and talk about Bayside and the stadium coming up for World Cup without showing you this game. And it just called to me to show you. I found this in some kind of vintage store a long time ago in middle of nowhere, Florida. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't have this game back in the day, but I got to get it now, being a Miami native. But now I see why it was calling to me, because I'm going to show you locations. And I don't know if you're familiar with this game, but the entire game board, I wasn't till I first saw it, years ago, is a map of Miami. So here we go. It's covering where that is close to the port of Miami and all of the action where the Bayside Mall is. And I'll zoom in and show you a zoomed up view. And then it's also going to cover where the stadium is. And, so I just thought that was pretty interesting that this kind of was calling to me. And the funny thing about this game is, and I think we've only played it once in our household, is it has, in good old fashioned way these games are done. You've got your instructions, and then you have this other like board where you spin something. And then what I liked about this game, I was laughing so hard, is that your little piece, like Monopoly, you have these little pewter pieces. You can be the dog, the hat, whatever. In this case, you can be a little Ferrari. It's kind of hard to show you, but here, I'll put one up close to the camera. You can be a little Ferrari car. So anyway, anyone who knows the vintage Miami Vice, this is to take you back down a little memory lane with it before we get into the actual map of Miami. And then, of course, in the good spirit of any kind of proper card or board game, you have cards that you draw. So there's some black background, white background. I have no idea what these do. Like I said, we played once a very long time ago. But you know what? At the very end of this show, it is an iconic typeset for this, the what we would call fonts of that movie, TV series, Miami Vice. But anyway, at the very end, maybe I will try doing a card read off of the Miami Vice cards. Let's see what happens. I don't even know what they say, actually. All right, so let me get into more. We'll come back down now from the game. And I wanted to bring this game up, too, because on the cover, it says very prominently, the game. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about next is about a real soccer game or potential one coming up, but also kind of like this game of life. And there are codes and clues and hints in this game. I think a lot of us are onto numerology now, and how some darker forces or less than forces use the numbers to charge them up in kind of a sorcerer way. You can call it what you want. There's black magic, but there's also green or white magic on the light side of things. But anyway, we're going to take a look into all of this, because as we get into the game, as you know, most games, at least in the worldwide setting, but especially in the United States, what do? You wear a jersey if you're a player with a huge number on it, and those numbers get charged up in certain ways. But we'll hit that at the end of the show. Okay, so let me try to get more focused now, and let's get into the heart of the show. So I think I will show you this map. I will zoom in and just show you a little bit better where the locations are that we're going to talk about in Miami. And then I also have things on my little slide sheets that I can better show you too. So again, we got, overall Miami on the east coast of Florida. We're going to look more toward like downtown. I'm going to zoom in here if this will work. Let's see where we are. Yeah. Okay. It's going to maybe somewhat work. But anyway, you see that big start thing? That's more or less, we're looking at downtown Miami. We got the Port of Miami down here. And the Bayside incident is right in here. The Bayside Alien Mall incident. There's a thing called the Miami Circle, the sacred Indian site, Native American site is down here. And then the stadium, hang on. Oops, north of Opelika. If anybody knows Miami? I'm trying to find it on here. It's not jumping out at me. Okay. Well, anyway, just say that the stadium, hang on. Sorry about this. It's a little unwieldy. Oh, no wonder it's way off the map here. So I'm going to pull it back. So I was just showing you the heart of the Miami alien incident, we'll call it, was there. Where's Opelika? Okay. The soccer match is going to be like somewhere up in here. So it's only like 29 minutes away. And the other stuff, Miami Circle of Sacred Site is only like a mile, 1.1 miles away from Bayside. And then the police station, because in the Miami alien incident, we're going to look at all these police cars that queued up. The police station is only like a mile, 1.2 miles, to the west of the Bayside Mall. But the thing is about and I'll start showing the slide and talk about it now. With the alien incident that happened January 2024, that was too many police cars, squad cars, to be just ready to go. Even though the police station was only 1.2 miles, like 9 minutes by car or foot, a little bit longer. There's no way that many cars are ever in the police department's parking garages at any given time. So with this incident, and I'll just jump right into it, and I'll explain a little bit better the backstory. Here's a little picture off the internet from a condo. I remember this being a legitimate photo at the time, so I can attest to that was a photo taken. And there were endless police cars going up what's called Biscayne Boulevard here. Okay. Along Biscayne Boulevard, there's a lot of key features. Let me just show you. Hang on. Here we go. So let me get this out of the way. So this is the map. Okay. Here, see Bayside Marketplace. The dark blue is water. And there's Port of Miami over here. And I'll show you another map. Again, the police station's right over here. And, there's a lot going on in this little vicinity. So there's a bridge being built up here called the Signature Bridge that has big arches. I'll show you pictures of that coming up. There's the what used to be called the Miami Arena. It has a different name now, where they play basketball and sports. There's a huge museum, a science museum, for a science museum, a huge art museum, the Perez Art Museum. There's a lot of things along this corridor. There's a amphitheater for outdoor concerts and things. And then there's other events like, I don't want to promote anything, but that energy drink, Red Bull, they have a thing called Flugtag, which means flight day, where you build your own kind of machines that go off this ramp and plunge into the bay, and then they judge that. So all of these things that bring a lot of people, it's important. I want to bring that up. High concentration of people, like in a sports arena, like will be in the World Cup arena. Anyway, all of that goes on here. And then that sacred site is right over here. And that is the Miami Circle. So here, I'll move to this image. Sorry about this. Here we go. So in this image, I have to switch hands. Give me a second. I'm sorry about this, but I hope you can see it already. So in this image, Miami Circle. Okay, it's just really close to Bayside, all along this corridor. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because that holds power. Like people talk about certain cities having a vortex or ley lines, and I'm just mentioning these happening along there. Oh, I guess I have better images. I should just be showing images, and then we'll get to Bayside after this. So this is looking, one way down this Biscayne Boulevard corridor, where all of those police cars would have been pulling up. They would have been pulling up off the photo here. But we've got all of these centers of power, like a pseudo-circular amphitheater, the Miami Circle beyond it. And here's the amphitheater. But what's important here is just next to the amphitheater are these really big trees of life, the baobab trees, these huge, like ones you see in Africa, huge, massive ones. Again, kind of marking that this whole area had a previous ancient sacredness to it and energies. This is that bridge I was talking about. Massive overkill, over the top expenses going on this thing in a very weird little area. Right next to it is a remnant of an old Sears tower that they kept as they were completing this big opera house and called the Arch Center. And then anyway, this is a little view of the Flugtag, where they have, fly off this ramp and crash into the bay. And that's just a scene too. There's a winter music festival too, right along here, where they have tons of people. So this has become a corridor. Again, bring it up because it's a lot of energy, a ton of energy, plus ancient vortexes. And that's why I'm bringing it up, because I'll get back to the Bayside Miami thing. Okay. So again, if you're not familiar with what is this alien event at Bayside Miami, well, Bayside Miami, first of all, it's an pseudo-outdoor mall right downtown Miami at the east edge, right by the bay, and right near the bridges that go across to Miami Beach. And what it is it's set up, here's a better view, where you have like a long, arm of it with little shops and things, pseudo-outdoor. You have a Hard Rock Cafe itself sitting there. And then you have other little shops, and you have like a little outdoor seating area, but right there with a little bay right next to it. So what happened was, and here, let me fold this for my own sanity. Let me do this and make it easier for myself and you. So what happened was, back in January 2024, and I happened to be in Miami at the time. And I'm making that clear because I was watching all of the newscasts, local news, was watching everything real time as this thing was going down. And it really piqued my interest, because there was a time where I worked collectively, 5 solid years downtown. And one of the jobs that I wrapped up on was right along this corridor. So I literally would park in a public lot across. There's a building, didn't have enough parking, the taller building, high rise. So I'd be leaving the building late at night and literally like running down because it was like a ghost town to get to my car safely at night. And it would be right across from Bayside. So I've seen it, in daytime. I've been running in weird hours of the night past that thing. But anyway, so we have all of this going on New Year's Eve, going into the next day, January 2024. So all of a sudden, the report came that, there's all these police cars. And again, we're talking well over 60. I mean, I'd be surprised if there weren't like 100 police cars and emergency vehicles all stacked up along here. And the initial reporting was, now here's the bay side of it. There's some steps leading up to this little monument thing, and then the entrance to Bayside's in here. And so the footage was grainy, and I know deliberately so on the news, where it showed like these figures floating along the front. Okay. Now this is a massive police response. There's a cluster of squad cars right here concentrated where this enigma, this anomaly thing was floating along. The initial reports of why cars were even called was, I quote, because again, I watched this whole thing unfold real time. The news reporting, mainstream news reporting, I said ruse reporting, it's kind of the same thing, was there were a bunch, I quote, of teenagers with sticks, and they were fighting. Now, if you know Miami, and it's actually very apropos that this came up for me to show the game, you see they're not holding sticks. If you know Miami, far worse was going on, especially in the 80s. I know now we're not in the 80s anymore. But then like teenagers, kids with sticks. I think they even said teenagers, a bunch of teenagers had sticks and they were fighting. And then later the newscasters, casting a spell, the newscasters or the news crew were reporting, so it went from sticks. That's a key word. So they had sticks. Okay. Then it became, oh no, they had fireworks and the fireworks went off, and then people in the mall panicked because they thought they were gunshots. Now, at no point did they say, teenagers with guns. So they said teenagers with sticks. You don't have this kind of a response, okay, of squad cars. And I don't know if you can, see them all. They're wrapped around every which way you can wrap them. They were coming from the opposite way. This is just looking in one direction. They were down the other way too. You don't have all these cars sitting there parked with their lights on, forming a wall and a line. These are bumper to bumper to bumper across that much territory for kids with sticks. Okay. And again, then it became, kids with fireworks, and they went off and people thought it was gunfire. So what happened was all the people in the mall at the time were running for their lives out of that mall, getting the heck out of there. They couldn't go this way because that's the water unless they jumped on a boat. So everyone's exiting where this line of cars is, out, wherever they can get the hell out of there into Miami. So on this side is all like the Freedom Tower, if you're familiar with that. It's a very iconic tower, which, by the way, I believe that was designed by a firm called Schultz and Weaver, who designed the Waldorf in New York City. Anyway, a little extra trivia. But everyone's hauling ass out of there, getting the hell out. Why? Because the report was from some of the eyewitness people. And again, watching this all unfold real time, what do? You look immediately to YouTube as fast as you can as these things the news is quote unquote breaking, because the real authentic reports are going to get posted and get scrubbed almost immediately. So I was doing that. I was looking on the internet real quick at some of the YouTubers. What's our boots on the ground saying, not these phony, rusing newscasters, right? So some of the reports were, oh my gosh, we were with my mom or my girlfriend. We were hauling out of there. Even older people who looked like they could barely walk or needed a cane assistance, they were hauling ass like they were a teenager out of there, because the consensus also was that there were these 8, some people said 9, some people said 10-foot shadowy figures that just kind of emerged, and they were gliding along. And not only were they gliding, if they were behind you, because some of the eyewitness reports at the time it was like right behind you, and it felt like so scary. It felt bad, a very dark energy. And so people were just running. Now, the eyewitness reports for people on the ground, also like more YouTube style, which I take more stock in these days than mainstream news. We know they're just not telling us anything. They're covering it up. They're in cahoots. But the people running were saying, yeah, they were trying to take our phone, but we dodged them and broke free. Other people said, yeah, they took my phone and they erased it immediately, the police. Now, what's interesting, if you look up what happened now, so much of the raw content that I saw back then is just gone. You can't find it on the internet. I did take screenshots back in the day, but I couldn't find them on my thumbnail. There's somewhere. If I really want to dig, I can find them. But I remember more authentic ones. And again, I say this because I'm presenting to you what I experienced at the time. Use your own truth detector on the whole situation. Maybe you don't agree, but because I literally walked the pavement, and I had nights where I ran, not afraid of like an alien, but just normal, like anybody up to no good on the street, just street smarts. I would run in my car at night and make sure I didn't get jumped, So, and I did that successfully for like a year. I've got good street smarts, but I'm just saying the people here weren't doing that. It wasn't like, let me run to my car because I'm afraid I'm going to get jumped by somebody on crack cocaine with a gun. They were running for terror for their lives because something very menacing and dark, we all know what that feels like, from some other kind of spirit world was on their tail. Okay. So the aliens in Miami is a misnomer, not only for aliens don't really themselves probably prefer ETs if they even care, but aliens is more derogatory than ET. But in this case, I would say these were dark entity interdimensionals. And now if you imagine something that got up to 10 feet tall, the images I saw were pretty freaky. I can only imagine if they had a dark energy with them to boot. Yeah, I'd be hauling ass too. I don't know that I would face it down and try to spiritually, command it. I might run as well. Who knows? But the point is, down to the eyewitnesses, I was sussing it out at the time. What is going on with this thing? Is it a fake, invasion kind of thing? Is it, government doing a put up and doing some kind of hologram technology? I wasn't getting that was the case. I was getting that something really did happen there. Something showed itself there of a darker nature. That's my personal opinion. Why? Because one of the very first authentic eyewitness accounts that I saw from a YouTuber, he came on saying, oh yeah, and I think he was with a friends or a girlfriend. He goes, we were just shopping in Foot Locker. I'm not promoting any brands, but it's important in this story because he goes, I was shopping in Foot Locker. It's like a athletic goods store. And we saw something and we saw these people running by. And so we looked and then we just, ran out of there. And that's when they talked about seeing elderly people, even almost like ditching the cane and running like they were, a teenager to get the heck out. Now, he felt authentic to me. Again, I always talk about using your own truth detector. What does your gut level say on all of this? What does your intuition say on all of this? Go with it. For me, my intuition was that guy's telling the truth. Now, my real world, not just my intuition, but real world provable kind of backup on that feeling was the guy mentioned Foot Locker. That was very specific. All other eyewitness accounts that we hear, even lately, they don't get specific into detail. This guy, he was there. And I knew right away, it pinged for me that he's telling the truth because when I worked downtown, I remember a bunch of my colleagues, they would go to Bayside and they would have lunch and they would go to the Foot Locker after because they played soccer and they would get some equipment, like very specifically shin guards. So that was my intuitive plus, what do you call it? I'm missing the word right now. My validation that the guy was telling the truth because he named the one, especially one place that I knew existed there. And in the context of him explaining it, it was natural. It wasn't a put up. I'm like, that guy's telling the truth. Now, he was explaining in detail. Oh my God, it was like right behind us. It was like a very negative, very dark force, something you would run for your life from. And, if you're doing hologram projection, there's no way to emote the kind of fear that they were describing when they were running. And so that's how also my internal guide is saying the guy was telling the truth. Now, even more telling and validating was the very next day. Again, I'm looking on the YouTube to see everyone's accounts of this. What the heck's going on? Why so many cops? Because in my entire life, even with bomb threats or a shootout, there was an FBI shootout in the 80s. They didn't have that many cop cars there. So something really extra weird was going on. Plus, they were saying, oh, Miami Airport, there's a no-fly zone over the area. That also is very telling because they don't do no-fly zones to the airport level for nothing. And I know they do those because another related story in 2019, there were earthquakes, and they did no-fly zone over Miami Beach, and they were diverting planes over Key Biscayne, if you know the area, which they never do. So something was literally up. In that case, I think it was underwater kind of warfare exercises. But anyway, that's a whole other story I cover in another live. If you look up the acronym AUTEC, go down that little badger hole on your own of what they do over off of Andros Island. It's like a secret underwater base, AUTEC, and even a wiki page will tell you exactly what they do. Now, that's not ET related though. This one, no-fly zone over the area, tells me something was going on. Now, the news story coming out after that, it kept morphing. It was like first it's teenagers, some kids with sticks. Then it was teenagers with fireworks. Nowhere did it go to kids with like a semi-automatic gun, because that could get a lot of police, but still not that many. You know what I mean? None of it added up. Then they showed footage of some kids in a scuffle, teenagers in a scuffle somewhere, but it wasn't at Bayside. It was like footage from a school somewhere. Those happen on the daily in Miami. People know how to deal with that. And so nothing added up. And then the story got dropped immediately. Like somebody put a wet blanket on it. You heard not a peep about it the very next day. And these are sensationalist newscasters who love to just milk it with like all this wild talk. They were silent. That's so atypical behavior for Miami news, quote unquote news. I'm using that term loosely. So my inner detector was screaming, dang, man, something did go down there. I believe there were some dark entities. I feel like if you were there at the time, yeah, okay, there could have been some fear there. Like I said, I don't even know how I'd react. And I've faced down some pretty nasty entities in my day, in the last few years especially. And that'll be maybe a topic of another show. And there are ways to handle it with like having command over the situation. But who knows? In that situation, I might be like, let's get out of here first. And, what do they say? Monday morning quarterback this, a day later, but get out to immediate safety. Then we can ponder all of the meanings of this. That's not a situation to like maybe rise up with your Gandalf like staff and try to face down this entity if you don't know what the heck's going on. So I think if I were in their shoes, and funny because we're talking about Foot Locker, the guy was authentic because they sell shoes, sports shoes. Like if I were in those shoes, I probably would have done the same thing. Get the heck out of the area. The thing is that, your impulse for survival, your own survival set, what do they call it? Your survival skill set. If you're put in a dangerous situation, you do all kinds of things you never expect yourself to do because something within you is helping you get out of there. And that is the sense that I got off of that situation. So you might see other people, I don't know what other people say, I haven't really looked at it, but back in the day, some people were like, oh no, I think that was just like a hoax or that was just hologram. Well, at least to a good portion of the people, whatever they experienced at one part of the mall, that was no hologram. Again, you can't capture the fear in just a projection. Now, later the news story progressed and morphed into forget the kids with sticks or fireworks. Then it was like, oh, it's pareidolia. They didn't use that word, but that's what they were trying to snow and con job, the whole public by saying it was 3 individuals walking. But if you looked at it a certain way, they kind of looked like one big figure. Well, I know that's not true too, because the raw footage when it came out, I took screenshots. You know what I do on this channel if you know my channel. I was doing my enhancements on them, and I was picking up different things that were not just like 3 officers together. So I think they scrubbed and substituted the raw footage. They messed with it and then broadcast it because I saw earlier footage that did not look like that. And there was a lot of other footage coming from the perimeter, from the sides they weren't showing. They were just focusing in on one, central place. And then they were ignoring, all of the other eyewitness accounts that were coming out. And again, they were taking people's phones. And when you see that the cars were back to back, people could say, oh, well, how could they take your phone? Well, look how many people were there. Look how many cops were there, this many. And it's back to back. This is like bumper to bumper. I've never seen police cars do this. So they're forming a wall to catch all the people coming out and taking their phones and whatnot. No brainer. Now, for the ones that were lucky enough to escape with their phone footage, they did, show what they had, but they were threatened. So back to my story of the guy that was talking about Foot Locker, excuse me, I wanted to follow that one in particular because I knew he was telling the truth. He got on the next day and he looked scared. So his mouth was saying, oh man, I was just playing. That wasn't real footage. But you could see in his face and his countenance, that guy was scared. Somebody threatened him, made him go on and say, oh, I was just playing around. He wasn't playing around. You know, I know it for sure. But again, take all of this, what I'm telling you, and do what you will with it. So again, that was 2024. It comes back on the radar now. Oh, well, let's see. I'll save, I was going to, sorry, I'm just thinking here. Okay, you know what? I'm going to show you something now. So hold the thought of all I just told you. And then we're going to move into another ET related thing coming up perhaps for tomorrow. Okay. So anyhow, I just want to jump and skip out of order. I meant to include this earlier, but Bayside, this is that sacred site of, it does relate. So they were saying in the story too of Bayside Marketplace that, I didn't finish the story. Sorry. So at the end of that story, it was, the kid with sticks, then it was kids with fireworks. Then they're like, oh, there was a kid with a box who was messing around. And then it opened up a portal or a vortex. But this wasn't coming from official news. This first came on the internet. And there was kind of some footage with a box and then like a glare out. Now, that might have been like fake footage. I'm not sure. But the story went that in the mall, there were kids messing around in a corner and had some kind of device. And then out, came some of these beings, through a portal. So that part, I don't know if it's true of how the beings emerged. But again, my truth detector says, oh, yeah, there were dark beings there. I'm not exactly sure how they emerged, though. So anyway, back to the Bayside Marketplace is here. Now we just go like a mile down, like a 1.1 miles down here on the water as well, is where they found the Miami Circle. And there was this circle, and they found evidence of shells and turtle shells, tortoise, shells and stuff. And there are all these holes. And then somebody took it, and there's actually a video done by another YouTuber. I'll post it in the post section after this, because they break this down in a little more detail. That's where I got some of these images. But there's all these holes in the ground, and they were correlating it with the constellation map above. It's very interesting. I'll post that later. But anyway, this circle, when they first found it, it's kind of like in this, rough land that's kind of grown over. A building was on it and demolished. And then they found this archaeological site, and with all the holes. And I actually walked it when it was this rough. And then sadly, they were prepping this lot for a hotel. And then they like covered it up more. And then now it's just like a hedge with a couple of holes and a fence. It's very horrifying what they did to trash, what was. I mean, they should have just left it expanded and big there. Instead, they made it smaller and smaller and smaller by the end of the day. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But again, I just wanted to bring it up because that was an ancient site, kind of like you could equate it minus the megaliths, like a Stonehenge as far as importance for Miami. And they just like steamrolled it and covered it up with grass and whatever. But again, it's all about energy centers. So along that corridor where the Miami alien, incident happened, I believe there's a there. Now, does it mean be terrified? No. Okay. That was a very specific event. I don't know if it's some kind of like, what do you call it? Maybe the portal opened up and it was not intended to land there. So some people I'm reading comments of people in recent times, just because it is a fascinating story. Some people claim, and actually a kind viewer of the channel here to there mentioned it, that somebody mentioned that if you reverse the coordinates or whatever of that Bayside place, it will flip you to the coordinates of Antarctica. I don't know if that's true. I don't, that would be something for if any of you want to look into it further. But the point is, when we're talking the realm of portals, for me, from the knowledge just I've gained over the years, Stargate is a positive name for a portal that you can use. A wormhole is kind of like the dark side use. So I won't refer to anything as a wormhole, but portal or Stargate is where I will be playing around with that. So I think very much so there could have been something to portal activity happening there. Coincidentally, and quotes, there is a Hard Rock Cafe itself, the restaurant right there. The next story I'm going to take you into is going to involve the Hard Rock Cafe owned stadium for the World Cup, where that's going to be happening tomorrow. Again, Brazil versus Scotland. And this is a real juicy story there. So hang on if you're joining in. This will be actually the best part of the show. So coincidentally owned by Hard Rock. Now, when I looked further into it, Hard Rock is now owned, at least in the Miami, well, actually global now, I believe, by the Seminole Indian tribe. Now, I don't mean any offense. I know there's a more official name, but it's the Seminoles owned. And they owned, because there's a reservation land there. And there is also casinos, the typical. What happens is a lot of the former, native or indigenous nations were squeezed out of their territory and put on these what called reservations, right? And so a lot of times you'll find casinos and other things on them. Well, in this case, they have built a hotel. I'm sorry, I'm just looking for the image. So nearby where the World Cup Stadium that they also own is going to be, they have built a hotel in the shape of a Gibson guitar. That's this one with the trees. Sorry. So this is the hotel. I hope you can see it. I hope I'm not too close. Oh, here, let me go here. Here is this hotel that's nearby the stadium. It is a 42-foot tall guitar, part of a guitar. So here it is in like a little bit bigger picture. So 42 stories. That's going to be important why I'm emphasizing the numbers. At a distance, you see it. Now, they don't have the full guitar neck going up because of aviation interference. So they kind of cut it off. But on some of their opening days, or I guess whenever they get permission, they use like these cannon light beams that go up into the sky to kind of allude to like the neck of the guitar. But hey, I think more might be going on there. I've seen this driving by on the highway from a distance, and you really see this beam cutting up through the sky on one of the days that they did it. And I'm wondering too if they're really working with these energies, and because there's just too many coincidences for some weird stuff going on. And now this is going to be, two big stories about alien ET connections on two properties that happen to have the brand of Hard Rock on it. Just saying, there's a there. I'm not going to go too deep into that. But anyway, let's go into the fun part of the show, which is kind of why I'm doing it at all. Okay, so I'm not sure if you've heard it by now, but there's big rumor mill going around that there's a Brazilian psychic. She goes by the name, hang on, I gotta turn my page, of Vo and Baiana. And so she's from Brazil, and in Brazilian, the Vo part means grandma or grandmother, and the Baiana is somebody from Bahia region there. But also Bahia is Bay. Okay, so now I'm already intrigued because what were we talking about? Bayside earlier. So she's grandmother from Bay. Just saying. The story's already interweaving for me. So anyway, her story is that, and she's online. There's raw footage of her talking. The translations of her speaking are horrific. So, I mean, they're really hard to listen to. Like the voices sound terrible when they're trying to translate her. But anyway, she seems to be a bit of a celebrity now. She was getting some views right when COVID started. She was amassing some viewers for different things she was predicting. And some of them, came true. And so it's apparently she has a following of, and I'm bringing this up because the numbers are going to play into this next chapter of what I'm going to talk about. Supposedly around 23 million viewers. That's a big number. And today also happens to be the 23rd. So I'm going to talk numerology a bit in a minute. But anyway, I looked at her and I looked at a picture, and I didn't just take this story and go, let me regurgitate the story about her. No, I really wanted to watch her on TV. I wanted to, which there are clips of her like on a local, or I don't know, local, but a Brazilian, like an official, TV channel. And then I also wanted to hear her speak her own words, even though it's in, I guess, Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. I wanted to hear her speak. Because again, the voiceovers and the translators on her are terrible. No offense to them, I guess they tried, but oh my God, they make it comical almost when they're doing the translation for her. And so I wanted to hear how authentic she sounded. I wanted to look at her aura and get the energy read off of her. But before I could even do that, I was kind of not blindsided, but I got distracted by a couple things. So she wears jewelry. So this is just comparing the TV show to the one little video clip I saw on a YouTube type thing. So she's got, of course, I say of course, because it's a very popular thing in a lot of different cultures to wear the evil eye. And I don't have an example. Well, I do have an example of it. You're not gonna be able to see it. It looks like an eye, sometimes it's like a blue iris to it, and a lot of people in Turkey and other countries or Greece, they'll wear a little red thread with either one evil eye. So it's just like a little, looks like white with like an eyeball representing an eye, and a blue eye with a black pupil. And people wear them to ward off negative energies. And so actually somebody went to Turkey and brought me one, like a bigger thing that like you hang on a window, and I didn't really know quite what to do with it because it's not so much my thing. I really, actually, for me, I have a personal aversion to that imagery of the eyeball just instinctively. But for a lot of people, it's a good thing. It's a good luck thing. So actually the one that somebody gave me, I put like in near the, like a garage, toward like an entrance to the home, and it cracked. And so when it cracks, whether it's on your wrist, and that's for any stone of protection, whatever, like these beads people wear, if something cracks or whatever, it means it served you well. Like somebody may have thrown you shade and it protected you. So that's all this kind of evil eye does. Now, there are nuances to this, and I'm going to throw this out as a, investigate on your own if you're intrigued by this topic. It has slightly different meanings, whether you're from Turkey or Greece or Brazil or wherever, it's a common thing to wear these things. I have nothing against it. It just does not resonate with me personally, so I don't use those. I have, just other natural things. I just, in my mind, I'm like, I'm protected, and if there's anything formed against me, it will either backfire or, God, you take it and do what you will with it, with these people. So I just kind of operate that way. However, for others, it's good until you feel that way. It's good to have maybe, something that you can, physically put on as something to protect. It can't hurt if it's, good intention, why you're wearing it and all that. Anyway, so what caught my attention about this person, and again, I don't know her, and I'm not casting any judgment on her. I'm just saying my vibe and feel off of trying to read this overall situation, because there's a pretty big claim here going quote unquote viral, which I really can't stand that expression on the internet. And so I'm like, let me look into this person, because if they have enough influence of supposed 23 million, again, that's another key number we're going to look at, or more, why is this person's story being allowed to circulate? Because we all know if something's meant to make it big, all of the little gatekeepers will let it, flood the market, so to speak. And if you're speaking truth and they don't want that, of course, what do? Shadow ban and truncate the person, right? I know from experience. So anyway, the point is, though, that if that's allowed to like spread, somebody wants that story out there. So I'm like, well, then let's look at this person. Whose team are they playing on? Team for humanity or team, something else? And I don't care if it harms humanity or puts good things out there, or I don't mind that bad things go out there. So in this case, I'm like, let me look objectively. Let me assess this out objectively. So I'm just going to show you in case you see it. So here's the person. So this is Grandma of Bahia. Okay, here she is. And so so when I was looking at her, I was trying to read the aura. I couldn't tell much from this picture. That's why I wanted to see video and stuff. But what caught me right away is she's wearing this. So that is the eye shape, okay? But it's black background. And to me, that's less of the evil eye and more of kind of like the black sun, dark side of the secret societies. Now, maybe not. Maybe that's for her strictly an evil eye. But right away, I was kind of like, And then in numerology, they made a point to say she has 23 million, and 23 is one of these kind of darker leaning society or secret society, I'll say, numbers they used. And so, and even now I'm looking up and it's showing participants and likes, and it's creating the 23, and I can't escape it, and then June 23rd. So there's a reason why I'm supposed to talk about it. So I'm in no way judging her or making any claims that she is or isn't something. This is just my personal impressions surrounding the story and how it's able to thrive out there on the internet. So my little truth detector is like, let's watch this one. Now, she supposedly had a couple of dreams. They were pretty, scary in nature. So I'll just say what she says she saw. Now, did she genuinely see this? I don't know. But if she did, that's okay. We all have some very real dreams. Some are prophetic, some are not. Some get commandeered by other entities and skew something to make something look like it's not. Or darker entities come in and try to control you to feel it and do everything and then spread it out, and so that the more people feel it and believe that thing, they'll be creating it in real life, which a little of that might be going on, whether it's wittingly or unwittingly or knowingly on her part. I can't say, but I'm just getting a feel of she may have legitimately had this dream, but I don't see that coming to pass at all. So here's the story of what I can just, this is just some paraphrasing summary of the thing. So she's saying that she's had this dream, and it involves the World Cup in Miami. She's very specific, and she's very specific on June 24th. And she's saying that she sees Brazil, which they're playing Scotland. She sees the Brazil team there. Two of their star players, she sees that a mothership comes down and takes the two. And she sees one group of coming down in a ship that are grays, and she sees another ship coming down that are reptilians. She sees the gray taking the players. She sees these reptilians going in the crowds and taking people. And quite a number of them. I think she said something like up to the number of 700 here and there. And again, do your own fact checking and all this. And then she says that she was tasked with saving the players. So she does. Like she rescues them somehow. Anyway, it's a very strange story. Now, it's a very specific story. And she said she had it again, and that's not normal for her. So when she has it again, it's very meaningful. So here's my take on it. I think, yeah, maybe she experienced some kind of dream, but in this case, no, that's not happening. Now, if anything remotely close happens to a craft appearing or something over the stadium, I think, okay, maybe there's a sighting of something like that, nothing crazy. And, and it's going to be like a kind of like a, oh, wow. And then like also like a, so what? And a lot of people might not even see it. Now, if anything weird does go down, sorry, I'm just looking for a photo that I wanted to show you about this to illustrate this point. If anything weird does go down with anything negative leaning, then we know that is a put up by dark, call it what you want, dark op. I'm not saying it's these groups. I'm just saying something like it. Dark op, dark energy, military kind of thing, putting it on to try to scare people, but it won't be authentic. It won't be real. So all over the country, the reason why I'm saying this is from little high school games. I don't think you're going to be able to see. Yeah, you can. Okay. Even, sorry, here. So this is like a little high school team in Missouri before the whole AI started popping up and everybody faking stuff on the internet. This was still authentic footage. So this was just a high school, I think, football game in Missouri somewhere. And then they started seeing these lights appear. They started to reorganize. They started to do all kinds of things. They weren't menacing, but it was meant for the crowd to look up. And the kids did see it. And they're like, oh, what is this? Nothing scary, just like, oh, what is it? Kind of exciting. And so if anything would happen, if anything were to present, to me, it would be more of that kind of a thing where over the stadium, maybe, as a part of positive disclosure, if it's, if it's authentic, it would be just ETs trying to show that, yeah, we're here, and seizing the spotlight because World Cup has a lot of, people watching. But it would be an opportunity to just, so yeah, we're lights, but we're friendly. No big deal. So I think this other person, whether wittingly or unwittingly, is, a little bit compromised in the dark side direction. Very likely. I'll say allegedly, okay? Because, again, I've been seeing this craft for a long time now. None of them have a bad vibe. And if anything, it's just they're slow drip feeding us like, see, a little more, we're here, and it's fine. Nothing to worry about. And so if I were somebody who is very much into her predictions, this specific individual, I would just say, look, anybody can say anything. Anybody can have any kind of experiences. Always go with your inner truth detector, your gut level feeling, your vibe, whatever. If you feel like any of us, like, you hear the stories time and time again, someone's about to get on a plane and they do it all the time, no big deal. And then one morning they're like, I don't know, something's just saying don't go. Well, then you listen to that. That's your inner truth detector. Same thing here. If you're already planning to go and enjoy it. But if you're about to go and something's like, I don't know, then, listen, maybe, see where you are in the moment at the time. I don't think anything is going to be weird. And again, really watch, because like that Miami Bayside incident, the other weird thing about that is somebody had to have known that was going to go down to be able to mobilize that many cars. So somebody was tipped off, this is just my opinion, well ahead of time that something was planned to go down. And they sent all of those cars, because you don't have that many cars at the ready to get anywhere in Miami. I'm just saying, they can show up here and there, but not like that was too organized. And also some people brought up, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around, but I'll stay on point in a minute. But also with that Bayside alien incident, people are bringing up good points after the fact. Oh, I just see 9/11 on the clock. It's pretty funny. Just funny in the sense uncanny, not funny. But funny because I'm going to be talking about the negative use of numbers in these secret societies and also the very positive use of numbers. So 911 came up now, and also because that's the, the number we call when there's an emergency, and talking about the Bayside incident. So with the Bayside incident, the after chatter is people bringing up good points. They're like, okay, so they say that these were kids with sticks or kids with fireworks. Then why haven't we seen one morsel of the body cam footage that all of the police officers wear and record with? So no footage was released on that. Mum was the word. Everyone just shut up about it. And so that, it's a no-brainer. It's a cover-up, okay? So they're there. Now, so I've touched on Bayside. I've touched on this psychics predictions. Now, I want to tie this into one other piece before we get, talking. Well, it will involve talking about the Hard Rock Stadium where the World Cup is going to be tomorrow. And then I got to get to the numerology, and then we'll be done. But there's another related piece to all of this, which is so weird. It is a movie that was streamed because it was start of the COVID, and so it wasn't in theaters. And this is a movie I almost didn't watch. I didn't want to watch it. And then I don't even know how I ended up watching it. I was with somebody else, and we had all seen everything else movie-wise and just weren't getting a hit on it. And I'm like, well, what is this movie? And then I'm not one to watch anything horror or negative leaning, but there was just something about it that, for whatever reason, let's just say, I knew I was supposed to kind of watch it, even though I was like lamenting watching it. So it's called The Tomorrow War. And I'm not saying to go watch it. It has a scary vibe, if you don't like those kinds of movies. And I don't. And I only agreed to watch it because I knew we could, fast forward it and skip places where I didn't want to see. But yeah, I'm a baby when it comes to those kinds of movies. I don't see violence. I don't want any of that. Why? Because I don't want those images in my head. Because if you know that we are powerful creators, we are, just anything you think of or imagine has a lot of power to it. You know that you don't want to dabble into the dark side of stuff. Now, if you just love it, it lights you up. Yeah, okay, maybe. But just if you can compartmentalize that stuff and get it out of you right away, do it, okay? Because you don't want to create, some pretty negative stuff. And we've been okay so far. But now as we move forward from like now here on out, you might start noticing that you think of something and something happens right away, that kind of thing. That's why you want to keep things positive, not getting like, airy fairy sunshine, rainbows. Nothing wrong with all that. I love all that. But you know how they make fun of that? Well, that's where you want to be thinking, because you don't want to bring anything dark into your life. And if you do, okay, good luck with that. It's your choice, but good luck with that. All right, so this movie, Tomorrow War, it stars, I'll say the people just so you know, make sure you get the right one, is Chris Pratt. He's the one that has been in Jurassic Park. He's been in a ton of stuff, Moneyball, and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, he's like the lead role in it. So what happens? They start off more or less at a World Cup match, and they're in Qatar 2022, which is where it was. Now, this movie came out, Tomorrow War came out in 2021. I think I said 2020 on my previous live. Again, fact check me all the time. No big deal there. Sometimes I can grab the facts out of the air. Sometimes I got to check it myself. But anyway, this story is set in, 2022. They're watching the World Cup soccer in Qatar. Now, weirdly, and I'm going to show you some pictures in a minute. Weirdly, though, they've got a Christmas tree and there are people over. It's the Pratt figure. He's the dad. He's got his kid on his lap. The mom's there too on a couch. Behind them are all the friends and family, I guess, celebrating like a Christmas open house or something. And Christmas time. Anyway, they're showing all this at Christmas time, and it struck me that's weird because if you know the World Cup, it's always like wrapping up in July, like June, July. So I don't know what that was about. But anyway, we'll let that go. There's probably symbolism there. But anyway, I'll show you the little storyboard. Spoiler alert, as they say. I'm going to tell you about the movie just a little bit. So let me get closer if I can. So the movie begins, they're sitting on the couch watching the game. This is on the TV, and they see the teams. Now, you do know that the team is Brazil. You don't know who the other team is. I think that's the ref. The other team is wearing a dark jersey, though, dark blue. You never see a team associated with them, but you do know it's Brazil, okay? So they're watching the game. Here go the players. I want to bring this to your attention. We're having a little numerology discussion and more. So we see these two guys. They're headed toward the goal. That's Brazil. We don't know who this is. Now, some say you don't know who this is because the movie budget maybe only had movie to pay for the licensing, because, you got to pay for all this stuff if you're going to show a brand or whatever. Maybe they only, could pay for Brazil, but they couldn't pay for whoever. I don't know. But I think they left this nondescript on purpose. So he's heading for the goal. Now, what do you notice? If you look at the numbers, this is why I'm going to go numerology on you guys. We have a number 8 and we have a number 18. Well, add them together. If your math isn't so quick anymore, don't worry about it. But 8 and 8 is 16 plus 1 is 17. 17 is one of those secret society numbers that often gets ramped up in movies and everything else, but it gets charged by like a negative sorcery, I'll just say, for lack of a better word, is put into it, especially in the movies. The color blue, the number 17. I'm going to get into a bunch of other numbers. Now, the only reason why I'm going to mention the numbers that typically get charged up in negative Hollywood, and again, there's negative and there's good everywhere. So there's good in Hollywood, there's really bad in Hollywood. There's, I think with secret societies, there's probably good branches that try to do good, that don't know what they're a part of, or another side that's bad. Even with the Vatican, there's a good Vatican, there's a bad Vatican, a very bad Vatican. And so there are people with loving hearts that are there for the right reasons, doing the right things. So we don't want to ever plaster a big thing over it. Like we just say, oh, the evil at the Vatican. Well, there are really good people there too. And it's the spiritual war, right? The good and the bad, battling it out. So anyway, and their presences need to be there to balance. Is how the game, as I started talking about at the beginning of the show, it's the game, right? Anyway, you could just say, oh, Varleigh, that's just kind of funny. You're putting that together. That's coincidence. Well, I beg to differ, because when you look further in this movie, this guy, what's his last name? Mason. And then you could just say, oh, it just happens to be Mason. Not like Freemason, wink, wink. It just happens to be Mason. Well, put it together with your buddy on the Brazil team. His name, and yes, I did look it up, is something like Pedralta, which means high rock or stone. So you put stone with the Mason together, you get Freemasonry. Sorry, they do it on purpose. Those that have eyes to see it. And I saw it as I'm watching the movie. And what do? The SMH, shake my head when I see it. Now, when I see these numbers, they're negatively charged. I don't let it get to me. I just look at them and I laugh and I go, that's cute. That's what you're trying to do. And then right away, I flip them to the positive meaning. So 8 can be abundance and beautiful things, right? So there's always negative ways you can charge numbers, but also positive ways, good ways. So anyway, they're running down. Forget about that, but it's heavy symbolism. Okay, so they're running after the ball. Then we get to this scene. Also kind of cute. I do a little wink and a laugh and a shake my head. So now we have a bunch of guys running toward the other goal. What do we have? 18 and 8. The other side. So again, we have the 17. We've got a 3-0 there, which if you add another O is 300. They like that number. And then over here is just 17 without adding. Okay. So you've got the 17s all playing in there. Okay. Heavy, like dark side of secret society happening. Then the guy, the lead guy, he's running to the goal. And then all of a sudden the air changes. Whoops. The air changes and the whole stadium, the light quality changes and goes dark. And he sees something happening in front of him. It turns out to be a portal. Okay. Then they kind of, they flash to overhead. So you're looking down into the stadium from above. And there's this huge flash and this big ring radiates out across all the fans. It blows their hair, blows cups around, whatever. And then you see the guy that's running. This is what he sees. So this huge crackling lightning kind of plasma-like portal opens up, purpley hued. And out jump all these military people with firearms at the ready, And then the last figure to pop out, and these guys are watching. There's more symbolism with these numbers. She comes out. She's like the commander of whatever's going on out of this portal. Now, you don't hear her speak yet, but she is walking by this gentleman with the name Pas and 7. If you know Pas, that means peace. Peace and 7 can be a divine number. So we've gone from the negative number symbolisms from before, and now we're getting to more positive use with Pas and peace and a 7. And she comes out and she's like this right away. She's looking around like, kind of like we come in peace. So that was a related symbolism. So anyway, she comes down. She's a very prophetic, very like, what do you call it? Huge, like one-liner saying that we are you and that they were coming from 30 years in the future And hey, we need your help, because if you don't help us and join our force, like join the army is what, or join the Navy is the whole push on this thing, then all of humanity globally will be extinguished within 11 months. So that's her good tidings. Joke. Okay, sarcastic. So she comes out of this portal saying, guys, we're coming from the future. And it's like, holy crap, we need you. And so what happens is a huge international worldwide draft. Now, what I'll say is, this is kind of conditioning, this movie, trying to condition people that, oh, there might be a big cause against, you find out they're fighting aliens, like really nasty ones, predatory things that kill humans. And so, this is kind of like a big, oh, hey guys, get used to, jumping in and fighting the cause. So they make a specific call for, hey, we need mothers, fathers, grandfathers. Like, they don't care even what condition you're in, if you can even walk. They're like, we just need everybody, right? And so right away, all flags, red flags should be going up for us. Like, okay, they're trying to normalize this, that there might be, what do they say? Even in the UN, back in the infamous speeches by Reagan and Bush, that I don't know who said it first, I guess Reagan, that, what if there were some common enemy and we all had to come together and fight it? And he was, implying like an alien threat, because, Reagan was all into this like Star Wars program, whatnot, with weaponry. So anyway, this Tomorrow War to me is just kind of like, really see through it. What are they really doing? They're trying to like normalize, oh, what if we all have to jump in and fight? No, that those days, no, no need. So they're just trying to drum it up to just like, be a good soldier, listen to your government, and do all of this. So anyway, full of crap. However, the movie part, I laugh because they rally people to come and do this, help them fight, and the portal takes them and drops them off in different places. So in one scene, these guys get dropped off in supposedly Miami. Now, I laughed right away because they showed one building here or there, kind of war-torn, but then when they went in the nuts and bolts of it running through the town, I'm like, that's not Miami. So again, if you know the place, they weren't there. But I found it interesting that they were setting this scene in Miami fresh off of a World Cup soccer game. And even though it was in Qatar, some people say Qatar, I'll say Qatar, it's still kind of putting in their hint dropping that there's something to do with soccer, a World Cup in Miami. And in fact, that the one team of the jersey is Brazil. And the weird thing about it is that this jersey, Scotland has a dark like navy jersey, and they are playing there tomorrow. So is there any credence, merit to any of this? I don't think so. I'm not taking stock in it. I think it's just some would-be controllers who can control the media in the form of influencers, in the form of what you actually see on TV, just trying to get us to be in fear and create more of what we don't want to see. So I want to flip all of this around and just say, chuck all of that out the window. Use your heart detector to see through any BS, and don't create more of the junk that they're trying to get us to create. And so I was going to go a little bit more into the nuts and bolts of some of these numerology and numbers, but right now I'm feeling not to do it. What I will say though is I think I'm going to make that a different show. What I will say is there are a lot of repeating numbers that you'll see on jerseys, like I was showing that one example, with the 8s and even the fact that it added up to 17. We know that negative stuff is charged up around the number part of 9/11, but just as easily we can flip it over and make it a positive number. And I've often referred to it, and I'll put a link below, to Joanne Sacred Scribe's Angel Numbers. She's does an Australian blog site. And you can type in any number you want, and it will give you the positive side of those numbers. So once you start seeing repeating numbers here and there, especially in news articles, I will say on that guitar-shaped hotel, they make a point to tell you it's 42 stories. That's a 6. They make a point to say there's 660 something or others with it, associated with it. Let me just see if I can find the article quick enough. If I can't, let's see. I think I can. Hang on. Yeah, okay. So the same article is telling you that it's a 42-story structure. That's your 6. And then it's saying it's 660 feet tall. And so that's your 666 is in there. Now, again, since I mentioned that, I'm just laughing because that's done on purpose. And in the articles, if they tell you 13 were missing, or 17 is a big number they love, or 33, you know that that's code, that these secret societies are just talking to each other through the media. Don't give it any credence. It means that there's a big, like I smell a rat. There's something wrong going on there. Don't believe everything they say. And that takes me back to a video I just posted, a part of my last show. I posted it for a different reason. But in the lyrics to the 80s song, which ties into our old 80s Miami Vice theme too here, is Tears for Fears. They sing, everybody wants to rule the world. And in the lyrics, he says, one headline, why believe it? Telling you right there. Why is everybody just listening to one headline? And maybe I can dig this up and post it in links below if I remember here, is there's this famous YouTube clip, you can find it on YouTube, where somebody took the time, God love them, and took every newscaster from like every US like city, not every, but a lot of them, and made a grid out of it and pushed play of them all speaking the news and using the exact same words. And it's like 200 like people echoing the same thing. So that's one headline. One entity is telling them all exactly what to say to brainwash us. So I love that lyric that only I had the aha moment the other day on, not the group aha from the 80s, but the Tears for Fears song, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I'm like, oh, I never heard that lyric like that before. One headline, why believe it? My God, I just sparked up all over the place on that one. And that's one further thing I'll talk about, and maybe I'll close this up. I wanted to say that go look at Joanne's Sacred Scribes for the positive aspect even of 666, because there is one. Some even say that's the mark of a Stargate. So a good thing, positive thing for humans in ascension. So it just depends on how you're going to look at it. And you can alchemize numbers. But getting back to the song, the one headline, by Why Believe It, for a long time, I mentioned on a previous live, I just haven't wanted to listen to music for quite a while now. I used to be so into it, go to a lot of concerts, etc. But something just said, no, we're going to, just listen to birds in the trees and the rustling of the leaves. And, there's just something, there's a negative vibe. Once you wake up and know what you lose that age of innocence of what some of the lyrics and things were done in the imageries of some of these music videos back in the 80s. Some had good vibes, and some they were, brainwashing and programming us through the image and lyrics without our knowing it. But now something has called me to look back into that again, which is a good thing, because I used to love music and stuff. Then I got a little jaded knowing we were being manipulated. But now something is having me come back and look at some of these things and find the ones that did have the good vibe, and like re-listen to some of the lyrics, and then listen to those lyrics with like new ears instead of new eyes, and look at everything from a slightly different perspective, but not the jaded and looking for, the negative stuff. Now let's listen and see what were the positive tells in some of these things for the people who can like pick them out. So anyway, that was just coming to my mind. And I'm looking at the time. I didn't expect to go on this long with all of this. I don't know if any of you have any other questions or little things you want to bring up, related or not. Feel free to make that known now. Otherwise, I do just want to end on too that, with things like the craft, the UFOs, and, people are talking about big stuff about disclosure now. Well, I remember back in 2014, I'm pretty sure it was 2014, well ahead of like any of the crazy happening in the last, decade, they were showing, even on mainstream news, the CNN, they had a whole story about how 2 Navy pilots spotted something that couldn't be man-made. It moved in a way that was too fast, and they showed the imagery. That was back in like 2014, and nobody made a peep. And I remember going, I was all excited. I'm like, finally, they're talking about the reality of, what's been hidden forever. Like, doesn't everybody know? And I was like screaming from the rooftops. I was like going to neighbors and friends and saying, hey, do you see this? Wasn't leading the witness. I just said, hey, look what they're reporting. What do you think? And it was crickets. It was just like nobody could handle the information coming out. So there was already a wave of trying to break all of this stuff, what they're doing now back in 2014. But people just were kind of numbed out, or they just weren't awake yet. They were not ready to see yet. And so my point is, things take the time that they take with all of this. It will be a slow drip. And definitely going forward, I say it every time, not trying to people are like, won't you just stop with this? But the Star Wars movie, A New Hope, it's like Obi-Wan Kenobi said, your eyes, your physical eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. And he was doing all go by feel. Go by the feeling and the vibe, just like the dog knows friend or foe from, many, many feet away, somebody come and they already know whether they should bark their head off and protect their owner or run up to the person and lick their hand, right? Same thing. Not saying we're dogs, although dogs are very intelligent, high, beautifully evolved souls. But we need to get back in touch, not, do what you want, but reminders, just a friendly reminder to get back in touch with where it all starts is in that heart space. That's everything. That's our life spark, and that's our truth detector. And we'll hear a lot of stuff. And I think, again, I'll repeat this too. It's why AI, I used to, I still am kind of very jaded against it. I'll say, because I really don't like it. I don't like the feel of it. It's fun to play around with, for the look and the thumbnails. But after a while, it's like, let's just let that SHIT go, because it's so fake. And, I think that we're moving into the era of being authentic and really connecting with each other in telepathy in many other ways. We all know if you're trying to heal in a hospital, well, hopefully you're not there. Hopefully you can heal at home with loving healers or whatever, who can get the job done. Nothing against the hospital, but what they represent now is totally not what it used to be for helping people. But, we all know the difference of if you're going to, soothe somebody and hold their arm and rub it, how much greater healing happens when you have somebody, even if you don't know them, like say a nurse figure, who's rubbing you, with good intention, with a bare hand just on your skin with that contact, versus putting on some of these stupid ass rubber vinyl gloves and then holding you. Not the same. That's not how healing works. We're not supposed to have that barrier. And if you're truly loving and truly feeling and wishing somebody well, you're getting the divine force to come through you and help you and would protect you from catching, quote unquote, anything that person might give off. And anybody that truly loves and has healing as their mission knows this, I've had it happen to me. If somebody, puts their warm, nice hand connected to their electromagnetic field, which is very healing from the heart space, we don't want the barrier on there. It's just like wearing our gym shoes made out of rubber when we're trying to earth on the ground, right? It doesn't work the same way. You want to take those shoes off, even if you keep your socks on, is better than having the rubber interrupt the flow of the energy from the earth to you and vice versa, right? I was probably going to go and touch on one other topic, but I think I've said enough. And I don't see anything else hopping up in the chat. So I do want to say and reiterate, I really appreciate your being here, whether it's live or if you watch this later on the replay. And what are your thoughts on all of this? Feel free to shoot me an email or keep it to yourself, whatever you'd like to do. But if you've had any aha moments off of any of this or come into some in the weeks to come, let me know. I love hearing everybody's opinions, thoughts on things. Like I say, I like to read everything. If it's the dark side, the light side, whatever, just to because there's a lot of hidden information in these, like, quote unquote, dark side societies, right? They're holding a lot of information that's being hidden. So it's fun to just like pull out the clues, but keep everything high vibrational. Don't go down into any dark tunnels, right? And if we do happen to scoot into something dark, well, alchemize it. We're powerful. Flip that SHIT and make it positive, right? Anything that we look at, like it started off, right? How am I going to see the world? Not with like rose-colored glasses, like, oh, you're in fairyland, just seeing what you want to see, you're not seeing reality. No, it's because I choose to see through the eyes of love. And if I walk into a situation that's less than or bad, I'm going to lift it up. And that's like the attitude to have these days. We can just change the energies. That's what we're here for, I think, to lift them up into a more beautiful world, right? With or without the glasses. Well, anyway, I see Vanessa Rice. Thank you so much. I needed to hear that. Oh, thank you, Vanessa. I'm not sure which part, but good. And SKR says, thank you. So I thank you. And I know I've been on quite a while. So you beautiful people in the chat, if you need to hop off, I understand. And I was going to wrap it up totally like let's cut this. But I am feeling just to pull one card. Now, I don't know what deck. I have a lot sitting here around me. And again, feel free to leave if you need to go. And if not, I'll just see what comes off of one card. Oh, I did say, didn't I, that I was going to look at the Miami Vice cards. So let me do that for fun. I have no idea what these say. But what will be interesting is if you know the movie or sorry, I keep saying movie. I didn't watch the movie. I'm talking the 80s TV series. This might go in a weird direction because weren't they about like drug busting and breaking up cartels and all of that? So this is going to be interesting. But what I'd like to do is I'm going to mix the black and white cards in this deck. I'll pull a card from there, and I'm trying to see if I have this other deck I use to counterbalance it. and I'll pull a card from that deck and we'll see what happens. Hang on one second. Sorry, guys. Yeah, okay, I found a deck. We'll go with this one, the daily guidance from your angels, which are positive angels here. So let's see what Miami Vice, not versus the angels, but positive angels. But let's see what happens. So this is a new thing. I have never even looked at this deck. Okay, so right away we got a card, and it says, okay, remember, this is new. I'm trying this out. It's going to be interesting. So this card, oh, thanks, SKR again, saying thank you. Okay, so this card says informant. And just showing you, this is from 1984. Informant, this card allows the bearer to move 2 turns ahead of its opponents. Okay, so hey, I already like that. In the game of life, you're already 2 steps ahead, even if you feel behind. And I like that because it means informed. So the more informed we can be, whether we are looking, I love this, hold on. The more informed we can be, whether we are looking at the dark side of this or the light side of this, right? Taking our information from both make us informed. We put it all together, and then we go with our inner truth detecting, and it will show that we're going to be 2 steps ahead of our opponents. And when you're going within, you're way more than 2 steps ahead, but I like that. All right, so hang on. And I like it because it's a 2, which is an even number. So that just means that when we get all this information and put it all together with our God-given inherent brilliance, not only will we be 2 steps ahead, but, we will win every time. All right, now let's just get one more message here, and then we'll call it a day or a night. Oh, yeah, and I guess I wouldn't check in on the game tomorrow just to see if this other person was right with her prediction. But just if you feel like you're going to watch that game anyway, don't sweat it. I don't expect anything to happen either here nor there. And if there's anything trying to make it look negative, I don't even think that's going to get pulled off. If anything, it might be somebody sees some lights and realizes their craft, and everyone's like, wow. And it's a no big deal. Okay. All right, a bunch of cards fell on the floor, so let's see. Stuff's hopping out, but I just want to get the one last card to sign off on. Let's just see if we get any helpful little messages. Whatever we need to hear for our highest good. Best and highest good. This is shuffling. Okay, I finally got one. Yay, it took a while. Oh, this is pretty. And I shouldn't be surprised this one came up. This is a very pretty card. In terms of the illustration, just look at a beautiful angel. And where is this angel? Bayside. It says ocean, but this is very much angel by the bay, we can say, or by the ocean. And I'll just read it straight up. And then this way you can also screenshot it if you want. If I don't move around so much, sorry about that. You know what? I got to do this. Let me read. There we go. I think this is better. I'm trying to get it out of the glare, guys. The deep, sorry. I can't hold this steady to save my life. Well, anyway, maybe you can catch it. Hope it doesn't make you seasick. Pun intended. The deep blue sea speaks to your soul, healing and soothing you. Even the act of imagining yourself dipping into its healing womb brings about desirable effects. Better yet, spend time physically near the ocean. Allow its power and beauty to wash away all cares and concerns. That's a great card to end up on because it's talking about the power of being by the ocean. There's something about the power of the water moving, all of the life teeming within it, and all of the positive life. We talk about the dark depths of the ocean, but there's a lot of loving beings in there too. And again, what are we going to focus on? The light side of that or the darker side? And if we see something dark, we can convert it. The games, many of the games, football and all of these other things, it's called a conversion or a turnover. We can very easily do that. Just as easy as just blinking if we want to, based on our intent. All right, everyone. Well, big hugs and love to all of you. Tremendous peace and love. And until next time, have a beautiful right now. Bye.